Welcome everyone to the Tesla Beat podcast week or number 56. We had a big week last week. Unfortunately, sorry we could not have a quick follow-up call just because we were all out celebrating the amazing reception that we had. But I think before we get into it, so thank you Jeff and Alexandra and Joe for being here. Number 56. So going strong. So here we have the weekly, just a quick look at the stock. I feel like it's at this 180 marker. We're just constantly waiting. Maybe hopefully at some point it'll get over 200 sometime soon. But there was, I think, not a whole lot of reaction, I feel like, in the stock as far as, once Elon got the comp plan. I mean, you saw a small pickup and then I think it kind of leveled off. So, but one thing I wanted to do was just, we were able to finally get a photo together of the current podcast. Shout out to Amy. I know we do have a different photo, but this is the photo that we have of the current staff. But I would love to just talk about, just give your thoughts on last week. Alexandra, obviously you played a huge role. It was really cool to see how Tesla was really just showcasing the love for you and doing various things. But overall, what is everyone's final thoughts as we kind of hopefully close? I mean, it looks like there's probably still some work to be done, but hopefully closing this chapter of 2018 comp plan and hopefully moving forward. But what were your thoughts being at the meeting, seeing Elon the way he was, and then also maybe Alexandra for all your, just being able to hopefully kind of close the loop of the majority of the work that you've been working on these past couple of months?
So shall I start? So, I mean, it was historic. I've never assisted to anything like this. I think it was actually great. We knew that the results passed the night before because there was so much emotion already, building up, people being nervous about it. And then we knew we had it, and we had it with a huge margin. So that was great. But what was even more impressive was, this coming together of the community. I loved how this was organized. This for those, and I think you all were, for those who were at the shareholder meeting last year in May 23, it was much smaller. The seating area was just about a quarter of the entrance hall. Here there were chairs everywhere. It was so full. We brought our banner. I loved that. I thought that was a really nice addition. And this this building up of the day to then have at 3:30 the official results and at 4, including 4:20, Elon, in the mood he was, giving us again the outlook on the mission for the years to come, throwing out incredible numbers. I mean, we'll see how those will be translated into the next compensation plan, because I think that was the underlying thought of it. It was, I mean, I was enthusiastic, but I think everybody was. If you rewatch that live stream, I've never seen people so happy about a corporate governance event. I mean, this is crazy, because usually nobody cares about corporate governance. It's just one of those things. The overwhelming numbers of these two results. I mean, I always look at the toughest standards, because that's the one the outside world is going to judge us on. 72% to ratify and reinstate the comp plan. That is nearly the same number as last time. 63% for Texas, which everybody thought, including me, was so hard to get that we were not building up our hopes at all. The difference of these 13% above the 50% for Texas is about 400 million shares. And the fact that brokers couldn't vote, but people could now vote because we helped them, these banks finally opened up to let them vote internationally. And the fact that so many more people voted comes out to 400 million shares. So I think that was really the difference of, I'm not saying it's me, it's those 400 million shares. That's really the difference that brought us to the result we have. And that is the best starting point we could have for what is remaining on these trying subjects, because obviously you're right, John, this is not over yet. We'll have to see how long this still endures in Delaware. Tesla has filed the same evening to be incorporated in Texas, which is great because that puts a stop to any new litigation starting in Delaware, because there are lots of people jumping on that train the last couple of weeks. You probably saw a lot of filings. Those are mostly people that just want to jump on that train, hoping they get a quick settlement because Tesla doesn't want to deal with them in Delaware anymore. They're just after money. These people are usually just after money. So just, don't give them much credibility and much visibility, and I won't. But the fact that they then incorporated immediately the Thursday evening in Texas, and that was accepted on Friday morning, puts a stop on that. Anybody that now wants to have any legal action against Tesla has to go to Texas. And even in Texas, it's not clear yet which court it is because that all has to be built up. So that's going to calm a lot of those people. And then the next morning, Tesla's counsel immediately as well wrote a letter to the court saying, here are the shareholder results. This time the vote was done how you wanted it and even more. So how about not going to this final judgment of this current case, which was supposed to have a final hearing on the 8th of July, and then in the 30 days come up with the final judgment. We knew the text in January, but we still are waiting for the plaintiff's attorney's fees. And so the Tesla's counsel said, how about we all sit down around the table, because these are now so new conditions. We should just not rush into a final judgment that has now, by reality of this vote, changed completely. And so we supported that with a shareholder petition this week, and sent yesterday the signatories of 8,000 Tesla shareholders to the judge saying, we support this letter. We also support Amy's objection to the plaintiff's attorney's fees. And so we hope that's going to have an impact. So while the chances are very low that this judge, who seems so motivated, is now coming finally to a reason, I hope she does pause for a moment and think whether it's really worthwhile publishing this 100-page stupid judgment, given that the whole reality has changed. So let's wait. That's going to happen in a couple of next days. So best case scenario, very unlikely. She accepts that and they sit around the table and find a settlement. And normal scenario would be she maintains her current state, now fixes the attorney fees, and that could be anywhere between 10 million and 6 billion. I mean, I never heard of anything as crazy as that, but there we are. And then move on to an appeal, because then Tesla would have the possibility to do an appeal in the 30 days. That will probably take another year until it is decided. These other small cases that are lying around are probably going to, try to settle. And then finally we'll be out of it. So it's either in 2 or 3 months it's over, or in a year and a couple of months it's over, but this will be over.
Jeff or Joe, any you guys want to step in?
Well, I'll just say that from an outside perspective looking in, like, Elon just looked really happy. He looked really excited. Like from the few days before when you saw him at the launch, and like, he didn't know then what the verdict was. So you could tell from some of the photos and stuff he took how he looked. But man, like his jubilation was like unparalleled even for Elon, jumping up the way he did and everything right away. But like Alexandra said, like, for the excitement in the room for corporate governance, this was like insane. Like, and I think that's what Elon was kind of believing, the tea leaves, that we didn't have his back, right? And so, like, he was just kind of going with what was said, but he realizes that the majority of the shareholders have his back, and I think that says a lot for him going forward. I mean, you can see it in everything he's been posting lately. He's just like all kinds of tidbits. I mean, he's like rejuvenated. So I think it's like it's exciting. The future is very exciting, and the whole event was electric and everything. Awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was thanks, Joe and Alexandra. I thought it was the energy was incredible in the room. If you're there, I highly recommend it. Again, I agree with Alexandra. It's not the normal energy you experience in a governance event. And Tesla, it's for Tesla, it's definitely turning a page and kind of moving ahead. I just want to again highlight the organization work that that Alexandra put in. Again, it wasn't just, hey, get out the vote. It was also unlocking the ability for people who couldn't vote before to vote. And a lot of retail shareholders support the company that they're investing in. So this whole ability to actually unlock the ability to vote is very meaningful. And there's still more work to do. So I just wanted to highlight, the leadership there was, incredible from Alexandra, and then another, the co-host of this podcast, Amy, is fighting, the attorney fees that would have been exorbitant, and also it massively impacted Tesla shareholders. So I mean, just from this podcast alone, and just from kind of the circle of people that that we're communicating with, you've got tremendous leadership. I mean, it takes a lot to put yourself out there, to put to file a complaint like that, and to go through the whole legal process and get a wonderful legal team that Amy has assembled. That's leadership. That's putting yourself out there. That's defending, the company that you're invested in. That's defending, and that's helping. This helps all shareholders. The organization work, the leadership from Alexandra, and I know there's others involved too, doing work in the background. This helps all shareholders, and I saw it in their faces when they came up to Alexandra and I sat next to each other, and just the number of people that approached her. It wasn't, hey, it'd be really great to meet you. It was like, hey, thanks for defending my position in this company. I'm a shareholder in the company, and the work you did helped defend my position. So I appreciate you. And again, the same would go for, I think the more people understand what Amy's doing in the background with this lawsuit as well, defending the rights of shareholders. That would be a completely unfair situation if lawyers in a lawsuit with however many shares this person had, again, were to take that many billions out of Tesla. That would be completely ridiculous. So I appreciate that. I appreciated the whole event, the way that Tesla put it on. I love the fact that they expanded it, as Alexander said, and it was great energy, and it's time. And if you look at the goals that Elon has put out, they're motivating. I think Elon wants to do this to motivate himself, to motivate his teams, to think through this. Now you're hearing about Master Plan 4, and to me, this is a framework for how he's going to build the multi-year plans for each of his companies. And you can start to see how they're all starting to kind of bend and kind of point towards each other in terms of how they're going to support ultimately this mission around sustainable transport and really sustainable life. And anyway, it was a really, really fun event. I'm glad I went there. I'm glad I was able to see and meet everybody again and new people.
Yeah, it was a blast. Well, first off, I think this was like one of the first events that, I didn't feel like any of my good friends needed a ticket, or I had to like ask for any favors to get my own personal one. And so it definitely really felt like just great to have everyone there. And more importantly, it was just awesome to see really how the community came together. I mean, I think I mentioned this on a X Spaces last week, just how you can't make some of this stuff up, and how things were all brought together over the past like 18 months. This didn't just start 2 months ago when Alexandra, started, kind of rallying the troops. This all started like 18 months ago, from the first time I met Amy to the fact that Amy and Alexandra connected and then figured out like the game plan to who's going to be front facing versus kind of in the background. And and then to kind of all of it kind of coming together. And so, and again, huge shout out to for all the work Amy's been doing in the background. But Alexandra, I mean, it really, I think this showcased that really people have no idea how to get involved with the companies that they're either invested in or they have their shares at. I think you kind of just, it's like a lockbox. You stick your stock in a lockbox, you walk away, and because most investors are hoping for the 5-10 year big return on Tesla. And so a lot of them, the last thing they're thinking about is like, oh, I need to go vote. And I think you expose that in a lot of these firms, especially overseas. And so for me to be able to kind of go, I was actually, to be honest, I was just really happy that Alexandra, you were just, people were coming up to you. I was just I was fanboying out from the side. I wasn't like coming up to you trying to be up in your face, because I was just excited for you and what this, what not only what this probably meant to you, but just for the community, for shareholders, for Tesla, and the board, and for Elon. And so it was really cool to just see everyone kind of like coming together, just sharing their love with you. And then more importantly, I like just seeing Elon, because I had seen him literally a week before, and he was just, you could just tell. I mean, I'm not gonna, yeah, you could just tell he was exhausted. He was tired. He obviously just got done with an amazing SpaceX successful launch. But he, like you could just see like how certain things were kind of, I think, weighing down on him. Because I saw him, and then it wasn't until after I was like, oh, that's right. He literally has, in a week, he literally has the shareholder meeting where he may not get his comp plan. And if you start believing the lies, I think it was, I definitely didn't think that the 2018 comp plan was going to be an issue. It was mainly the Delaware one, which, I think you helped ground all of us in. But yeah, it was just, hopefully, I really hope that he now has the artillery and the gunpowder, if you will, to know that he can march forward and go and accomplish these things that he wants to at Tesla without second guessing himself. Because maybe he has been, I don't know. I can't step into his brain, but I definitely know that, probably some of this garbage was just weighing down on him in various ways, because it puts a lot of things up in the air. And then also too, it could, there is the aspect where, well, what if this rubs him the wrong way, even if he does get it? But I think with the amazing response from the work that all the shareholders did, and that Alexandra, that you helped really rally together, really just gave a resounding, we support you. We want you to go and do your thing, make it happen. Like, there's no question about it. Like, this is just stupid noise. And as you said, like having all those seats together with all of the shareholders in the room was just, I think, Joe, as you said, just electric. It was just everyone was there. A lot of the supporters, even a lot of the ex-supporters, were there. So it was really, really cool. I think there's really not much more to say about it other than it was, go watch it if you can. Go just experience, even if you experience the first 5 minutes of Elon walking out and stuff, the rest might just be kind of boring for you. But just go out and watch the first 5 minutes of the actual live stream, and you will just see like a new Elon, I would say. So, all right. So the funny thing is that you would think that, okay, hey, let's take our let's get our let's hang the trophy up on the mantle, but really it feels like the work's just starting. So Elon tweeted, I believe on the 17th, excuse me, working on master plan 4, it will be epic. And then he said, and I think, Alexandra, I mean, you got multiple like shout outs from him. He even started following you, so congrats on that. That's a pretty big deal. So but yeah, him, just the super strong support from retail and large investors meant a lot to me. I will do my utmost to ensure that their faith is rewarded. And then he even responded to Omar at one point, okay, Elon Musk, we got you the options. Now you have to make Tesla the most valuable company on earth. Deal? He's like, yes. So, yeah. So I think, what are you guys thinking about this responses? Any thoughts on Master Plan 4? I feel like Master Plan 3 is probably a little bit outdated at this point, especially as a lot of things have shifted. But what are your thoughts on some of these comments that he's made? I'm not going to go into the AI 5 chip yet, but what are your thoughts? Any predictions or thoughts on potentially even what Master Plan 4 could look like?
So, Stephen Mark Ryan had a comment about how, and I think Farzad too, about how Master Plan 3 was about the overarching goal and about all of humanity and, Earth and abundance and what we could do from a renewables standpoint. Whereas what I believe you're looking at with part 4 is a focus like 1 and 2 on just Tesla, on Optimus, on what this will do. I mean, as you said, like the chip, I mean, he's not even naming it hardware whatever chip anymore. It's an AI 5 now. So like I think you're looking at just a crazy motivation to make Tesla just the everything. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we already knew this. I mean, for a lot of us investors, I mean, we've been invested. We know that it's not just cars, right? So we've been knowing that. We've been yelling at the mountaintops for years. But as things start to shift and as AI starts to come more in focus and the robotics and everything is like lining up in the manufacturing that this company does is bar none. Like, I mean, what BMW and all these other companies, the capitulation lately. And I mean, you have like just BYD and Tesla. I mean, thank goodness, like here in America, there's also like Honda and Kia is actually making moves too, or else, where would we be? So, I mean, the manufacturing prowess that Tesla has is just like bar none. So knowing that they're going to be making robots and knowing that they're going to be ahead of the AI front, and like Jeff said earlier, like the pieces of the puzzle are just all coming together. Like, yeah, he does all these companies separately, but they all align for one goal. And you can see it. You can really see it now.
Yeah, maybe I jump in here quickly. I think this was, for many reasons, a key moment. Obviously, this vote just came up. I mean, it is what it is. Nobody wanted beginning of the year that this vote had to be redone, and the redomestication to Texas was one. But the consequences of this all, again, there may be still weeks and months and maybe short years in Delaware to survive. But the consequences of being in Texas are that Elon can now have preferred shares with voting rights, right? This is going to be major for him. It was very important that he keeps sufficient voting rights in the company to have an influence at any times. So that is now possible. I mean, who would have thought it was, going to happen already this year, and already with this relatively simple solution? Not saying it is simple, but relatively simple. So that was that. But then obviously we're at the moment where the previous cars / small energy company now transforms into an energy, AI, and most probably labor replacement company. So this very crucial year, probably even month, it all happened at the same time. I mean, if you look what is happening with the Glasshouse South Side extension in Austin, what a coincidence that this is gonna, be finished in the same quarter then all this stuff happened. So more you consider what's built for the future of Tesla, and more you realize that it is all coming together in the next couple of weeks and months, including obviously Robotaxi Day. So the whole infrastructure, the whole vision, Master Plan 4, I don't even know whether we should say 4 or 4, weren't they all French, those numbers? Well, anyway, so this all comes together now, and we're here to live through it. historic. I don't find better words for it. It's just absolutely historic. And Jeff can probably explain much better what we saw yesterday with his announcements of, you know, the size of investment that is currently happening. A week ago, that was, you know, unsure to happen, and we're only a short week afterwards, and there we are. It's, you know, and so many naysayers or jealous competitors or whoever it is, they probably don't believe what just happened, right? This is their worst nightmare, and it's accelerating. Here we are.
Yeah, it's unleashed. I mean, if you look at what is being built in terms of compute capability, remember there's two primary things happening. One is the compute for full self-driving. So you've got the perception and the vehicle inference that's happening, and then you've got the network infrastructure data center side. And that, so there's a huge data center being installed in the Austin campus in Texas. We all saw it when we were at the meeting being constructed. And then in Memphis for XAI, the largest cluster, a GPU cluster of its kind. So Tesla is building, Tesla and XAI. I think they're two different things, and they're two different types of engineers in AI that are working on these problems. One is working on, call it these edge devices, that you'll hear this term, edge devices. These are the things that will actually physically move throughout the world or be used by people. These are devices that'll be used throughout the world. So think of that as, you know, the FSD work in getting cars to drive themselves, getting these vehicles as robots to drive themselves. And then you have what's happening with Grok and with XAI and working on these large language models. We have this real-time information to basically have, you know, near superhuman, eventually superhuman intelligence here soon. And he's working on both of these things, and you can see how both of them could converge. So you have that superhuman intelligence, whether it's in a vehicle or in the robot, and then you have the ability for the robot or the vehicle to move throughout the world autonomously. And then both of these things are happening concurrently. And there's no template for this. This is what people, the critics, people trying to like, oh, well, he's, you know, it hasn't worked. It's not working yet. Or it's like, there's no template for this. There's no schedule for this. It hasn't been done before. So when things haven't been done before, in my experience, that you have a pretty, you know, large range in terms of trying to guess and understand what the schedule is going to be. So what does he do in absence of knowing exactly what the schedule is going to be? He's going to put the most aggressive schedule. He's a physicist. He's going to put schedules that are derivatives of the laws of physics on his team and drive them. Now, he's not committing like he used to in the past externally to those schedules that are, you know, driven to the laws of physics, but he's driving his teams aggressively, and he's putting aggressive targets on himself, and he's still kind of putting that out there. So this is an exciting time to be alive. This is going to converge right in front of our eyes. There's two robots right now doing assembly work in Fremont. There were not two robots doing assembly work in Fremont just months ago. There's going to be eventually dozens of robots doing assembly work in a Tesla factory, maybe in a month or two. Who knows? They didn't commit to that exact date, but maybe 1,000 or more next year. I mean, it's happening right in front of our eyes. It's going to transform over the next year. Think about where we'll be this time next year. Where will full self-driving be a year from now? How many hundreds or thousands of robots will be in a factory now actually doing real work? It's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, pretty incredible. And speaking of big fans, as you said, pass this to Joe real quick.
Yeah. So, I mean, we saw the beginnings of this, right, when we were there, and just knowing that, I mean, because we're talking about the compute and everything, like even Elon has said, it's basically a super huge GPU that they're just building out in front of freaking Giga Texas. I mean, this is massive. I mean, these are shots from the image that Brad Sloan took, but like the compute and everything that's happening with with Tesla is just unparalleled. I mean, we know there's other companies doing great stuff, but I mean, who has fans? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we haven't seen anything like this from like even like Meta or like any of the other companies like OpenAI. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's taking videos of their huge compute plants or anything like that. So I just want to know what Jeff thinks about this, and this kind of leads into like the next topic of Tesla suing this company Matthews, and before we get into that, I just really want to know what you guys think about like just huge amount of compute that's happening.
Yeah, it's again there's on the large language model side, there isn't a bigger GPU cluster than what Tesla is building. I think previously, yeah, it's many times bigger when it's done. Remember, Elon said this is going to play out over probably an 18-month period. So these things are not necessarily kind of frozen in time. They're going to continue growing them, so they're kind of built to scale out. Tesla has really good partners they're working with. I think two of them have been named, remember, to do this assembly work of this network infrastructure. This is what I think. Again, I've seen some of the critics before, like, hey, why didn't Tesla take those NVIDIA chips? Why did they move them to XAI? It's not; these aren't little chips. This is data centers. These are rooms, full of compute. These are huge, and the assembly work is really involved, really intricate, tremendous amount of engineering involved. Materials involved are very expensive. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the engineering that's behind the cooling that's going into this place, it's fun to see. I love the drone shots are perfect because you get a real perspective of, yeah, this thing looks like a gigantic GPU card that would normally slide into your computer, but now it's an entire data center that needs this kind of cooling. And so the engineering work is awesome. The scale is awesome. This goes back to the core of what everything that an Elon company does. Everything goes back to scale, and you have to remember that. If you look at SpaceX, you look at the velocity in terms of production of rockets and engines, and he wants to turn this into just a very rapid thing. Look at what he's done with Tesla. Look at, everything comes back to massive scale. Look at the scale in miles that we're getting with FSD. Now look at the data centers. All the data centers are, gigantic, and they'll probably continue to grow. So it's exciting to see.
Alexandra, any thoughts on the fans or?
I don't. I mean, I have my strength, but I have no technology or knowledge on anything, so I prefer not to say anything. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, it's a huge computer. So Jeff, I want to ask you this question about the next slide. Tesla sues Matthews. So this is one of their suppliers that has kind of gone awry. Like, what do you think when you see stuff like this? Like, I mean, Tesla's clearly, like you said, like unleashed now, and they're just making moves, and I mean, they're taking up prisoners and everything that's going on. But what does this speak to you for?
Yeah, Tesla has. Yeah, it's a great question, Joe. Tesla has trade secrets, and make no mistake. While they talk about releasing their patents, they release them eventually and open them up for use. They don't do them instantly, and every day Tesla is creating trade secrets in their engineering labs, and then they have to work with partners if they're they're building a physical object, or they're even some partners in software. But when they're building something, they have to work with a partner. In this case, Matthews, and this is for the dry electrode on the 4680, and this is trade knowledge in process engineering, and it's not uncommon. So what happened? It's not uncommon for these thefts to occur. What is good is when you see an OEM, be vigilant about it, because it sends the right message. Tesla being the OEM, it sends the right message back to other suppliers. So what happens in these situations is Matthews isn't a household name per se. They're well known in kind of the tech area, but not a household name. Tesla If you're a supplier and you get the Tesla contract, the Tesla award, and you're working on anything relating to EV, you now have a ticket to basically, you're now more valuable to other EV OEMs than you were before. So for Matthews to have that relationship with Tesla, that's leverage within itself, and they could have been fine. But the issue is if and I don't, again, the lawsuit has to play out, but if they're using trade secret information that they developed together with Tesla under an NDA, and they violated the terms of that NDA, and what's in that process engineering data and those trade secrets, if they use that to bring up another Tesla competitor or someone in that chain, well, that's going to be a problem, and that's what Tesla's calling out. So Tesla may have documentation, they may have, emails, they may have seen a design file. I've seen situations like this in the past where two parties work together and then another party goes to work with someone else, and all of a sudden you see the design files or you see something that looks exactly like that what was built from the prior relationship. We don't know what happened. Let's let it play out. But it's good to see that Tesla is aggressively pursuing anybody who would get in between them and their trade secret information. And then on this process, I think it's interesting. I mean, what does this mean in terms of 4680 development and where they could take it ultimately? So those are a couple of things that come to mind.
Would you say that this is like a step back for them as far as like, or is this just a follow-up to a fallout that happened maybe months ago?
No, I mean, this is Tesla pursuing protection of their IP. So I think this is good. It's not good that that they believe that their IP leaked, but it's good that they're pursuing it and they're driving it. In terms of the 4680, the 4680. I mean, we're all fans of the company, but to be clear, it's certainly struggled from a schedule perspective, and it's struggled from a performance perspective, and it's pretty tight on a supply perspective as well. But it's been a good leverage point for Tesla to have the 4680 as they're dealing with other sourcing of other supply of batteries. It's good for Tesla to have their own internal leverage, to have their own internal technology. That part of it is totally unregrettable, and they should have, and there's no issue with that. But you would like to have seen them be far along with the performance of the 4680 in terms of its energy density and if its supply and maybe its cost too. We don't know its cost obviously, but anyway, yeah. So it's good that they're doing this, but the 4680 still has some work to catch up to kind of be a world leading solution.
Yeah, and I think when you think about just all that they're doing, I mean they're a really lean team. I mean, when you look at how big this company is, as they obviously continue to just make those adjustments, Tesla just runs lean, and so the fact that they're able to continue to, I mean, one thing Elon has always done right is like we need a badass, like a bunch of ninjas for our legal team to make sure, but all the things that, we're talking about, the fans and the build out that they're all doing there to these legal battles that are happening is just incredible. And then, little things like the robo-taxi updates for the API. And I think, he dropped a pretty cool descriptive bombshell the other day with, this is the one I kind of had skipped. It was he's just talking about hardware 5, and which, he said will be renamed AI 5. And in the second half of next year, it's going to be released, sounds like. But the AI 5 computer has 10x the capability of the hardware 4 computer. And Tesla makes the whole software stack. So, yeah, I mean, it's just like, I think that, like, when I think of Master Plan 4, that's what I think of. I think of, really, because I think the plan before was like, how do we electrify the world, right? And I think obviously that's still going to be their mission, but we know that at least some of the EV growth has slowed down, and really Tesla's in this transition point, going from a car company into a robotics and AI company. And so I think, Master Plan 4 is going to be all about human robots, autonomy, and really just, continuing to push forward sustainability, right? Because all of that will become possible with full self-driving. Like more and more people are going to buy EVs or use EVs as, it can drive itself, and, humanoids as well is just going to really just change everyone's daily life. I mean, I can tell you right now, depending on how much it is, I'm going to do my best to get one. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy to think that, here they are just in the background, slowly just dropping things, and getting us closer and closer towards all of this. So, and 8.8 is coming up, and I shout out to Alexandra. She's got a ticket.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. One of the other things that's hardly ever realized about like the robotaxi or the robocab or whatever it's going to be called, CyberCAP, is the amount of people who are quadriplegics, paraplegics, or just legally blind and can't get around. Like, these are people that are really going to benefit huge from something like this happening. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe they take Lyft or whatever now, but you're talking about giving people back their freedom when you're looking at like self-driving vehicles and everything like that. Like, it goes a long way for a lot more people. I mean, yeah, we're excited and we're capable people. So to imagine the handy capable people and how excited they're going to be.
So true. All the older people too, all the boomers of this world, right? Because getting older comes with having to renew your driver's license and being, really worried about it. And you're losing so much of your capabilities if you can't move around. And you probably don't want to have an Uber and a Lyft with a third party where you're in the car with somebody. I mean, only yesterday 2 days ago, I had lunch with my landlord. She's an elderly lady, a widow, and she said, "I can't wait. I can't wait to sell my car and have Tesla robotaxis take me around."
Yeah, and just think about it. To your point, Alexander and Joe, just everybody, once this software gets to where it needs to, everybody's going to be biased up to be 10 times or 100 times better than a standard human driver. So that older person or that person that has a disability, or not that I would advocate this, but anybody, the number of people that drive impaired. I mean, if you look at the top drivers for car accidents, it's excessive speed, it's driving, under the influence, and there's one anyway. All three of the top 2 or 3 things, all of them are remedied by full self-driving, and so the impact this is going to have on humanity is just a huge deal. And one quick comment just about when Elon he stresses this. I just wanted to explain it for 2 seconds. Tesla doing the whole software stack for their autonomy is such a huge deal because, again, we're talking about in reference to AI 5. This is a piece of silicon. This is inference. This is in the self-driving computer. That silicon goes on the computer that goes into the vehicle, and Tesla in a normal situation, NVIDIA would be doing that self-driving computer and the actual inference silicon that goes on it. They would have that fabbed by a partner, sent into that car manufacturer, and then NVIDIA would have to run their you have to use NVIDIA's CUDA platform to do that AI software development, and then the OEM like the BYD or the Mercedes, then they would have their own software version to do integration into their vehicle. So you've got all these parties working together, hardware, software, on both sides, fabrication, and Tesla does this whole thing themselves. So just imagine the amount of control they have. Imagine the fact that they don't have to pay a margin out to all of those different providers to pull this whole thing and integrate together. And then imagine all these people basically being under one roof in terms of instruction, in terms of priorities, in terms of schedule, in terms of bug reduction, and driving perfection, versus having these teams dispersed and spread all over the place. So this is why Tesla will lead and continue to lead for a number of years, I think, until someone will eventually catch up, but that time lag is going to be long just because everything's fragmented out.
Yeah, I think it was Sandy Monroe who, when I interviewed him last weekend, he was just talking about how Tesla is just on hardware alone is 5 to 10 years ahead of anybody, if not longer. So doesn't matter if they're catching up. But one thing that I thought was interesting, at least for I was talking a little bit about it with Joe, was EV sales declining, but specifically it's mainly obviously because Tesla has been obviously the leader. But what are your thoughts on some of these other brands that are obviously doing extremely well? And this is just obviously 1 month of data, but anything come to mind? I mean, either way, it's good that other people are. We all know that it's really coming down to two competitors. And it's good that other people are, obviously exploring EVs, because every gas car off the road is a good thing. But it was interesting to see some of these stats as well. And obviously the volume that Tesla is doing is kind of, it's hard to compare it against some of these other ones. But yeah, just interesting facts here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the growth of like you look at the growth of like a Toyota BZ4X and that slide, right? And yeah, they're up like over 600%, but look how far behind Tesla they are. I mean, this is a total of 67,000, and Tesla has more than 50% of that total. So I mean, like, yeah, it's great that these other companies are around, and it's great that people have choice, because I think that's what's been missing. And yeah, they look great on paper, but in reality, you can see how far behind they are. But it's still good. I mean, even somebody had made a comment about like the Cybertruck is probably gonna. I mean, look how close it is to the F-150 Lightning. It's probably going to be the best-selling truck by the end of the year. By the end of the year, like, no doubt. So it just like Tesla doesn't need to lead in everything they do. They just need to be a factor of it. You know what I mean? Just have an input. But the fact that they do lead by such a wide margin just speaks to the manufacturing, like what we were talking about earlier. Like they just manufacture at such a high level that it's just unparalleled. And I just think that kind of goes unnoticed, like a lot when people look at, oh, their numbers are failing or whatever. Well, yeah, but look how high up they are still. Like they're still outselling everybody.
Yeah, I was just going to say that EV sales aren't declining. EV sales are growing. The rate of growth declined. But if you look at it overall with total auto sales in the U.S., EVs will grow, anywhere from, the estimates are 10 to 20% year on year, and other auto, so hybrid plus ICE, so basically anything with a gas engine, is actually going to be negative year on year. That's the current predictions. That could change. So that's what's actually not being told when you hear that. And then obviously the Model 3 has been constrained. The new Model 3 was constrained probably all the way through May, supply constrained. When that gets uncorked, you look at the numbers from last year, 19K in 1 month. I mean, that's a 55 to 60K driver for Tesla in a quarter, and they only did like 12 to 15K last quarter. So it gives you an idea of the impact of the Model 3 supply had on Tesla's total output. And then the other car manufacturers, their numbers aren't super meaningful. The only ones to keep an eye on are the ones that have high NPS scores, net promoter scores. These are the people that buy the product and then recommend it to others to buy. Tesla has the highest NPS score in auto that I've ever seen. Rivian has a very high net promoter score as well. And the Hyundai, Kias are also doing well. Everything else on that list is, to me, these aren't meaningful numbers per se. And some of these companies are just kind of like utilizing some of their CapEx to get product out because they ordered the material, they ordered the CapEx, and they're building some product out. but I'm not seeing somebody yet meaningfully scale. And if you look at Rivian overall year on year, they're going to be flat. So, so you really want to look for who's driving that next bump up in meaningful scale. Who's that going to be? And then watch out for the new Model 3, because I think that those numbers are going to start climbing with June production.
Yeah, and this is all right. And for me, always when I look at these tables, they feel so outdated. I mean, I know they're current, but they're comparing computers on wheels to EVs. I mean, it's nice that EVs are catching up. That's it. I mean, it's nice that EVs are catching up. And yes, we're in the same category and we're leading it by far, but maybe our growth rates are not as high as the ones that are starting from very, very low numbers. I mean, it's easy to go from 100 to 400 cars sold, right? But the thing is, the moment the general public will understand what full self-drive is all about, they are outdated. Nobody would want an EV. I mean, it's nice to have an EV. It's better than a hybrid or an ICE car, no doubt. But it's not going to be the same category anymore. And that's what we're working for. And that's what actually we're getting very, very close to. So I'm not worried about this. I had somebody sending me emails telling me, oh, they have to do advertising, they have to do marketing, they have to do. I said, no, this is not the moment to do that. This is the moment to invest in our future. The CapEx they will need to have all these fans and all these GPUs and everything they need is much more important than currently pushing numbers of cars sold. There are 7 million computers on wheels out there that can, on a snap of a finger, be activated if the owner wants to. There'll be many more built by Tesla, used by Tesla, or sold and then used as robotaxis. That's the future. It's not comparing little stats on how many were sold here and how many were sold there, given that we're, way ahead anyway. So it's just not the same category. It feels a little bit like at the stock exchange where we're compared to Ford and GM, right? Okay, sure. Compare us to tech. That's probably where we should be.
Yeah. Alexandra, I wanted you to wrap up. It was so funny. I thought a lot of your work would be complete. And then next thing you know, it's like there's just surveys popping up. Hashtag Survey Monkey. But just quickly, what was the point in this for some of those that may have missed it? Obviously, you got all the results in. I saw it last minute and I jumped on the bandwagon. So sorry,
I appreciate that.
But
yeah. So there have been 3 surveys. One is closed. That was the one where we got 8,000 signatories for the support of the Tesla letter to the Delaware judge and for Amy's objection to the Tonetta plaintiffs' attorneys' fees. So that is out. That's sent out. That's closed. There are still 2 surveys open, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about those. They are pinned in my X feed, so you can easily find them. What we want to make sure is that next year's, if it takes a year, but next year's shareholder vote is going to be easier for all of you, but also for all of me, I can tell you. So the preparation for that is that we need to make sure that people know with what banks and brokers they could easily vote. So that's one of the surveys. We already have 1,600 people participated. End of the month, I'll publish those lists. I'll clean them out. Some of those have referral fees for the banks they recommend. So if you want to help and chip and help a fellow Tesla shareholders use those referral fees when you move your shares from your account where you could not vote to an account where you could vote. So that's only possible for people who are not in a difficult tax situation or whatever. There may be reasons you should stay with your broker, right? I mean, there are people who cannot easily move. So that's the second survey. We want to make sure that those who could not vote can now express it the last time. And that list is also going to close. That's the second survey. If you're not satisfied with your broker, if you couldn't vote, if it was difficult, if you're worried that this was only a one-off solution, then please participate in the second survey. We currently have over 500 people already participating, and that list will be worked on by Tesla. So when I briefly spoke to a couple of key people last Thursday, they said, we are working on that. We're a small team only, so we can use all the help we can. But I want to give them that list of people that are still unhappy with their broker so that they know where to start on. So that's the second survey. First survey if you're happy, second survey if you're not happy, and then help me with that until the end of the month. And then the third thing there's actually two more things coming. In July, we want to do education that people understand when they invest in funds, or when they're in specific types of accounts, but sometimes even margin accounts, they are losing their voting rights. So I want to do some education on how to identify whether you have all your voting rights or not, because more important votes, I mean, not more important last week, but more votes that are important will come up, and I want you to be able to vote with every money that you have in Tesla. And then end of August, we will know how everybody voted, because they have to do SEC filings with all their proxy votes, and we'll be able to see who voted yes and no. And I think it's important for you to understand whether, if you're in an index fund with, I don't know, Schwab, and Schwab voted against, I don't know yet at all for Schwab, you may want to move to, if you want that index fund, you may want to move to Vanguard, who voted yes, right? So I just want to make sure that everybody transparently knows what these people voted, and that you can take decisions afterwards, whether you want to keep their accounts there, whether you want to keep the fund investments there or not, and then you do what you want.
Definitely. And of course, we need to end with Xake Over. If you hold on real quick. Sorry, there's like something. But yeah, so if you are free at the end of July, thankfully, Tesla has done us a favor in the past. Sometimes they'll have like an event like really close by. But thankfully, the 8/8 event is a little bit after. But if you are free at the end of July, come to San Luis Obispo. We have an amazing lineup with Franz and Jared Isaacman as our keynote speakers. Everyone on this podcast will be on stage at various points, if not together. So go to xtakeover.com. It's going to be an amazing opportunity to get together with people all over the world. I just found out yesterday we have people from Japan coming. We have a lot of people coming from Europe, and really all over the United States. I mean, you have people like Tesla Tino, and even Tesla coming from Florida. So there's people from all over the world coming to this event. Meet other people that you know on X, and come out and experience some amazing things. Potentially like test drives, some e-mobility experiences as well, over 40 exhibitors, and just a ton of stuff. So make sure you come out, xtakeover.com, Cyber 10 for a discount if you want to use it. But we would love to see each one of you there, and we appreciate all the support this year. So July 27th and 28th, xtakeover.com. Everyone, hopefully you have a great week, and we will see you next time.